Hoosiers. And it's coming to you next, right here on the Big Ten Network. And we welcome you to the house built by the Godfather, Jerry Yeagley Field, home to the 8-time national champion and #1 team in the country, the Indiana Hoosiers, who welcome in #7 Notre Dame. It's an Indiana derby. Hello, buddy. I'm Dean Linke. Delighted to be with Chris Doran. And Chris, an Indiana derby, we'll take it.
No kidding. I mean, we've got a situation where these two teams, for a period of time, didn't even play one another, Dean. And they're top 10 programs. Thank goodness the coaches saw the light, put the schedule together and decided to play one another.
Bobby Clark loving the work up top of John Gallagher.
You have to. I mean, he's an offensive threat. He proved it against Boston College with a hat trick from restarts as well as from the run of play. The ACC's Offensive Player of the Year last year is on pace again with 6 goals on the season.
And Indiana's defense to attack transition is deadly.
Sure is. Indiana puts all the numbers behind the ball in this sequence on 15% of the field, all 10 field players there. And then when they win the ball, they go the other way. Remember, hard work defensively makes the attack come easily. Players move with one another, and they move in support of one another. And that support is necessary. When you come up against a goalkeeper like Andrew Verdi, who gets a couple of saves, you need that third wave of support in the attack to finish the play. And that's exactly what Andrew Gutman did.
All right, a few days ago, Notre Dame was #1 and Indiana was #2. Tonight, the Hoosiers are #1 and Notre Dame is #7. And we bring you the matchup next, right here on the Big Ten Network.
Out there, who's going to find a way to win this conference?
Gallagher, he's got it!
Indiana Hoosiers out of the locker room and ready with the Hoosier Army behind them as we get you set for #1 Indiana and #7 Notre Dame. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for Bobby Clark's Fighting Irish.
Well, the strike tandem up top of Farina and Gallagher has been so important to Notre Dame's success, responsible for 10 of the 14 goals scored by the Irish this season.
And for the Indiana Hoosiers, Todd Yeagley will bring out this starting lineup.
Dean, if we talk about attack for Notre Dame, we've got to talk about defense for Indiana, because the tandem of Lillard and Gutman has been around as long as Farina and Gallagher. These guys defensively in the back are extremely well connected. They know one another well, and they've only allowed 2 goals in 8 games.
They've got a big-time freshman in goal, 6 shutouts already. He's only given up those 2 goals. Talking about the goalkeeper for Indiana, Trey Muse.
He's got a 90% saves percentage. That means he's getting his paws on everything that comes his way practically. And he doesn't face a lot because of that seasoned defensive line in front of him. But when he does, he's up to the task.
Notre Dame is led in goal by now wearing #1 Chris Hubbard, a 5th-year senior, one of the best goalkeepers in the country.
And certainly Bobby Clark so proud of what Chris Hubbard has achieved in his career. He has next-level ability if you talk to Coach Clark. And when you watch Hubbard play, you understand why.
Already graduated with a degree in accounting, now looking to get his master's. Grant Lillard on the Mac Herman Award list and also a senior class award nominee. Solid citizen on and off the field.
Last 4 meetings between these two teams, we mentioned that they didn't play much in the early going about, say, 20 years ago. But in the last 4 meetings, it's been kind of a back and forth. You see where the shutouts are so important to the winning team. And the rankings are consistent in that these teams are typically meeting when they have found some treading in the top 20 rankings.
Bobby Clark, by the way, including his time at Dartmouth and Stanford, is 10-10-1 all time against Indiana. There's not too many coaches across the country that are even Steven against the mighty Hoosiers.
Well, that's a really good point. And this is a tough place to play to come into Bloomington. Both teams have been training under the same weather. In Indiana, it's been hot for the majority of the last couple of weeks, so that's not going to be a surprise here tonight with the evening heat in Bloomington. But, you know, coming off that Virginia Tech loss last Friday, Notre Dame is going to have a little fire in their belly, right?
Well, that sets the table. If you're wondering why Notre Dame dropped, they were rolling along with 6 straight wins, setting up for 1 versus 2. They lost at Virginia Tech by a score of 2-1, dropping down to number 7. That pushes up, though, the Indiana Hoosiers, led by Frankie Moore at that number 6 position. Long tradition of outstanding defensive midfielders at Indiana. And the Hoosiers are number 1 again as we get you set here at Armstrong Stadium, Jerry Yeagley Field. And you know the Godfather is up in the press box looking down. His presence still felt here in Bloomington. Notre Dame in white from head to toe. The home team, the Indiana Hoosiers, in all red. Delighted to be with you here on the Big Ten Network as this one will roll out of bounds. Beautiful night in Bloomington, actually cooling down just a little bit. As you said, it has indeed been unseasonably hot across the country. The Hoosier Army. They put the students down on the field a few years ago, and boy, it has been a key part of the environment.
Well, the little 500 track actually separates the bleachers from the field, but it was a great idea to move the smaller bleachers closer to the far sideline and give students closer access to the playing surface.
Indiana comes in number 1 in the country, Maryland number 3, Michigan State 4, Ohio State 16, Michigan 25. Big Ten teams in the top 20. Lillard knocked away by Notre Dame. As you talked about, Chris Dorn, that combo up top with Farina and Gallagher just feels like those two have been at Notre Dame forever.
Yeah, it sure does. They've known each other for a long time. They've been roommates since sophomore year in South Bend, and they've got that friendship going off the field and a really nice understanding on the field.
See the 8 stars there representing the 8 national championships for Indiana. Bobby Clark actually giving Notre Dame their first national championship on the men's side just a few years ago in 2013.
When this series took a pause in the scheduling cycle, it was really a lot of Indiana success stories that we were seeing in the results. But since then, it's been a shared bit of luxury between these two teams. Last year, though, as you saw in our graphic, a 4-0 setback at South Bend, and Todd Yeagley was reminiscing about that with us this week and saying, you know, first of all, that's when Francisco Moore went down, and then the goals started coming, and he just felt like the game kind of fell apart for Indiana in certain respects. And it was a celebration in South Bend that night for the Fighting Irish.
There's Trey Muse, starting goalkeeper for the U.S. Youth National Team. Several of those U18 players on this Todd Yeagley Indiana team. Outstanding freshman class, led by Muse and Dorsey.
See the numbers behind the ball for Indiana, winning possession back very quickly. Grant Lillard looking up top, bypassing the midfield for the service to Mason Toye. Toye, one of the freshmen from the U18 team, comes to Bloomington this year. Very speedy, stretches the field well, has great feet for a big man. When you play with the numbers in the midfield that Indiana has, if Toye gets that ball even 40 yards from goal and holds it, he can bring players in underneath.
Here's Gutjahr, the Bloomington native, was part of the U.S. U20 team that played in the 2007 CONCACAF Championships. Right side for Indiana. Missed hit. It'll go out of bounds. They'll say it was deflected, actually, so it'll be a corner kick for the Indiana Hoosiers. So that'll bring Trevor Swartz over. 2 goals and 2 assists. Missed most of the spring after having his face shattered against Wisconsin in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament a year ago. Swartz sent in, punched out of there by Hubbard, but Hubbard was fouled. It looked like Corey Thomas was all over him, so he'll get the whistle from Peter Dima. Peter Dima, the man in the middle, our referee tonight, It's Timmy Mel pushing forward. Gallagher. 6 goals in his last 4 games after not scoring in the first 3. He's red hot. Snapped out of there by Gutman. Corey Thomas, speaking of hot, 3 goals and an assist for Thomas. Really been perhaps the most improved player for the Indiana Hoosiers. Both Todd and Jerry Yeagley telling us that this week.
Good period of time. Corey Thomas serving as that spark off the bench with about 18 minutes to go in each half, or even at the start of a second half. Thomas called into that starting role now until Jordan Klein comes back. Right now things are clicking, and Reese Buckmaster on that far side is moved into the right back slot in place of Jordan Klein. And since the starts, I mean, you got to say that this has not been so bad, has it, for Corey Thomas? He's got 3 goals and an assist since he took this midfielder's role from the kick.
2 goals in that 5-0 win over Rutgers in their last game for Thomas. Perhaps a little bit of payback. A few years ago, Rutgers came into Bloomington and throttled Indiana 4-0. We couldn't quite believe what we were seeing. But Rutgers certainly had the tables turned this last visit in Bloomington. There's Toy, nifty little touch, finds Thomas. Can't control it, it'll roll out of bounds over in front of the Indiana bench. Brian Mazanoff is off the bench right now. Todd Yeagley on the bench, and Kevin Robeson, also one of the fine assistants. Gallagher, he'll run all day, folks. Gallagher dropped in, down near the end line, dangerous. Shot here from distance, deflected off of Thomas and not out of bounds. It should stay in as it curls down near the corner flag. Euland sends it in and sent out of there. Of course, Euland, the hero last time these two teams met in Bloomington 2 years ago. 109th minute, Euland, just a freshman, off the bench with the game winner to knock off Indiana. Towns will push it to Diedrich. Sean Diedrich, his brother Kyle, who has been starting as Euland has been injured. So you'll see both Diedrichs out on the field for Bobby Clark and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. For Notre Dame, see that sign, the 8 stars, 8 national championships, 18 college cups for Indiana. Over the top, pretty good ball, looking for Gallagher, doesn't need a whole lot of room. Muse, though, the big man in goal, had that near post covered.
It's one of the things Todd Yeagley talked about yesterday after training. Gallagher's so dangerous when he looks to make a run, and his teammates do a great job of finding him.
Here's that defense to offense transition that we told you about. Thomas. One too many touches for Thomas.
This is great work by Gallagher. Watch as he spins off from the top of the arc, goes wide. Boy, if that ball isn't overserved, he's got a nifty crack at goal.
Scooped up by Hubbard, and Hubbard's going to bomb it long. Mishit it, though, and he'll hear it from the faithful. Bill Armstrong Stadium, always good crowds here for Indiana. And for a midweek game, Bobby Clark talking about a lot of these teams think they're easy midweek games. He says you can't find one anymore in college soccer. How about this crowd here? Beautiful shot by our outstanding BTN crew. Pleasant night, finally cooling down. Nice crowd.
Always a great crowd here in Bloomington. Program is very much a part of the fabric of the community. And it's not just the university community, it's the community off campus, the town and gown, as they say in college towns.
Thomas will lose it. And Notre Dame with a little bit of transition of their own. Great ball into Gallagher. Gallagher with more tracking back. He'll try to switch it far side. Chasing it down there is Casey. Cleared deep. It is worth mentioning that Patrick Berneski, the senior, normal starting center back with a late red card in that loss against Virginia Tech. So Seenan Fairley, the sophomore from Havertown, Pennsylvania, getting the start. But that's a big loss for Notre Dame. See how those center backs do. Muse, big command in goal for Indiana.
I know Indiana's back's under a bit of pressure here in this last 5 minutes or so. Notre Dame's done a nice job of creating a couple of different situations where they can either get a ball knocked in across the back or go ahead and whip a ball in from way outside. And they've got a couple targets in there. Indiana's defense is doing well to absorb the pressure.
Mel with the right foot. Thomas did a trap it the outside of his foot. Bounce out of bounds off Notre Dame. Throw in Indiana Hoosiers. Gutman looking for the head of Toy. It's actually Fairley, who we just showed you, is going to have to fill the shoes there of Berneski, who won it. Toy will win it back. Take a shot from distance. Swartz thought maybe he was going to crank it as well, and they'll head it back for safety to Hubbard. Toy had himself a rip right there.
It's a neat opportunity. He's probably not going to take this shot as often as a guy like Trevor Swartz will. Trevor can hit a ball over distance. Toy can strike a good ball, but he's a guy who wants to kind of cut and maybe take another touch in that situation, and he didn't have the room to do it. I thought Swartz would pull the trigger a little quicker.
Picked up by Indiana. Gutman, quick throw in for Toy. 3 goals and an assist already for Toy. Thomas. Toy will switch it. There's Buckmaster, who was actually playing quite a bit of the number 10 before the injury decline. Bounce, and Hubbard, one bounce, scoops it up.
Far side, Dorsey looks up, gets that ball in. Opportunity for Gutjahr, who has learned to become much more dangerous inside the box. Hubbard does a nice job of confidently getting that up off the turf. It's a tricky ball when it's dropping as quickly as it is.
Great job switching the point of attack here for Indiana. Gutman perhaps mishit it with that left foot. It'll fall to Farina. Farina can absolutely deliver the ball on a platter. He has been brilliant. 17 career assists for Farina. He's got that knee brace on. Bobby Clark telling us about that knee brace. I feel like Coach Clark would like to see him shed that knee brace.
John Gallagher getting involved in a little bit of contact from the Indiana defense, earns the whistle. And Farina, you mentioned with the knee brace, this is really the first time Coach Clark says he's been really healthy. He's one of our best hold-up players, and as you said, delivers a terrific ball.
4 goals and 3 assists. Headed out of there. Lillard. Preseason Mac Herman watch list along with John Gallagher. So those two should be going toe-to-toe quite a bit. Here's Toy. Boy, one touch away from Toy, because if Toy can somehow sneak it past Fairley, he's off to the races. And Chris Dorn, when you talk to Todd Yeagley about Mason Toy, He says he's got all the tools to take over at that number 9 position. He needs to go ahead and use him, use his body a little bit more, be physical, because he is not a tiny player up top there.
No, he's not, and he's had the experience on the international level of playing in high-stakes games. But one of the points that all of the coaches have made across the board here in the conference is that these U18 players and U19 players who are so strong in their clubs have only been playing against players their own age. When they step out on the soccer field in college soccer, you're playing against 22-year-old men, guys who know how and have learned how to use their body in this game. And so shying away from the physical contact is not something that's going to behoove you. If you're trying to develop as a player, you've got to learn to compete against it. You have to learn to absorb it. You have to learn to dish it out a little bit. And certainly not to say that the U18 national team doesn't play physical soccer. That's not the point. The point is that these players on the opposing teams are bigger, they're older, and they're equipped with veteran experience in the physical components of this game.
Indiana, the number 1 team in the country. The United Soccer Coaches Poll just coming out this afternoon. Notre Dame dropping from number 1 to number 7, 6 spots after that loss to Virginia Tech. It'll come all the way back to Muse. Bobby Clark telling us his keys to beating Notre Dame is deal with Indiana's depth. He admitted that his team is not quite as deep as Indiana's, and you see that when you take a look at the stats. Notre Dame has kind of kept it to about 14 players or so, and Indiana's been able to go 18 or 19 and then find the front runners up top in top form, which we've already talked about, Gallagher and Farina.
Indiana's already made a tactical switch. They put Griffin Dorsey on this near side instead of the far side.
They might be looking for Dorsey over there, and Toy was there as well. Good read, though, by Hubbard. So strong in the air, Hubbard is.
And Corey Thomas has moved to the right side, so they're looking for space. And in this sequence, the big service from Reese Buckmaster, and Hubbard's got to go full extension, but no problem pulling that one down out of the air.
All right, we'll keep an eye, though, on Dorsey now on the left side instead of the right. Clearly, Todd Yeagley and his coaching staff seeing something on the left side.
Well, one of the things that Dorsey's so good at, and it's because he's so darn fast, is that he can really confuse defenders when he goes at them on the dribble. And if he cuts at an angle, a la a Chris Klein, I'll go back a few decades, Chris Klein used to do that, you can really throw off the shape of a defensive back line because no one's really sure who's going to step.
Player down, I think, is Farina. Remember, he's got that massive knee brace on his knee. Toy spinning. The inexperienced Fairley spun him totally around, but he got support there from Matt Habrowski. Gutman, we showed you in the open what Gutman can do running forward. A little bit too strong there for Toy. Sends it back in, trying to find Thomas. Snapped out of there by Notre Dame. There's Gutman doing a lot of work here. Gutman with his left foot. And Hubbard gets low, knocks it down, and then picks it up.
Here's the sequence, and I don't quite know what happened here with Jeff Farina, but the shot by Andrew Gutman is saved by Chris Hubbard. Farina's back in and battling. Maybe hunting for a call there.
Yeah, I didn't see exactly when he fell down if there was any contact there. You see the shots, though. Indiana 3, Notre Dame 2. There is Farina. He's from Illinois. 2014 All-ACC freshman, part of the Chicago Fire Academy.
And so Grant Lillard knows him very well. In fact, they've got a little friendly rivalry, as Grant Lillard has been a part of the Fire Academy as well.
And here is Lillard, captain for the Hoosiers. Gutman and Lillard, same high school, so those two on the left side, rock solid for Todd Yeagley in Indiana. Buckmaster back to Frankie Moore. Now Buckmaster's got a chance to serve one in again. It gets loose. Quick turn. Still in bounds. Here's Dorsey. Dorsey, one of those players that every Big Ten coach we've talked to, they mention his name right away, is not just one of the top freshmen, but flat out one of the best players in the league.
One of the funniest things Todd Yeagley says about his freshman class, and remember, and that's Griffin Dorsey, is that he seems to run downhill. He just is, it's like he is above the field when he's moving. It is so effortless. And when he has the ball and he's on the attack in the open field, he can take so much space so quickly. We saw it against Maryland. We saw it against Michigan as well.
Lillard with the foul. Let's see if Notre Dame takes their time. Try to push some white jerseys forward. Indiana Derby action here Tuesday night on the Big Ten Network. Notre Dame and Indiana. The Hoosiers, they're hoping to take care of business. They've lost the last two to Notre Dame. Farina will chest it down. Diva got in the way just for a moment. Notre Dame stringing together some passes. As I say that, Ulen will lose it. Swartz now to Thomas. Thomas, he has got those kind of skills that have always showed up in practice. This year they're showing up in games. Dorsey's got Gutman on the left. He's got to cut back in. Dorsey, you can't get it away from him. 3 white jerseys served perfectly to Gutyar, and Gutyar can't totally handle it.
Boy, Corey Thomas does a great job here. He gets the outlet pass. He cuts through one defender, cuts through the second defender, and then the third. It's like it's a walk in the park. At the other end, Griffith works his way to the goal line. He's got that supporting player in Gutman, and Gutman uses him with Gutyar as the target. Gutyar is only able to get ahead on it, can't get it directed towards goal. That transition defensively so strong for Indiana.
Led by Corey Thomas as they were able to get it out wide to Griffin Dorsey. Now Frankie Moore trying to hang with Gallagher. Sent in off the top of the head of Farina.
That Frankie Moore marking Gallagher situation is not a man-marking arrangement. No, it's whoever's closest has got to pick him up, and Frankie Moore getting pulled out of that holding midfielder's role to fulfill the responsibility as Gutman was tracking back. Really important that everyone's attentive to Farina and Gallagher.
Dorsey, a different level with the ball. Different gauge of speed. Gutyar back to Dorsey. Dorsey knows where he wants to go with it, and he earns a corner kick. Downhill, ball at his feet. Dorsey special.
No, he's a top 20 college recruit, and boy, the Hoosier fans are loving it that he ended up in Bloomington, Indiana. Dorsey, you're absolutely right. Had Trevor Swartz on that curved ball, but couldn't get it around the Notre Dame defense.
Second corner for Indiana. As Todd Yeagley looking to make a change as well. Austin Poncho hoping to get in for Indiana. Right now, Trevor Swartz, the redshirt junior from California, taking the corners from both sides. Thomas, what a back heel, what a drop. Oh my, set up perfectly by Thomas, giving it back to Swartz.
There's a corner kick that they've worked on and rehearsed. It actually looked like it went better than it did in training yesterday.
Buckmaster, Toy. Somehow these balls are slipping through into the 18 where Indiana has a chance.
Yep. The quick check too, and then you dribble the man and take the ball off the heel. And it was a terrific rehearsal yesterday, but it worked better here in live action as Swartz gets that ball back and has Gutman on the run with the left foot locked and loaded and can't get that ball through the block, the defensive block of Notre Dame.
So Trevor Swartz will take a break. Poncho, the junior from St. Louis, Missouri, has been a lot of outstanding players from St. Louis come to Indiana. One of them's on the bench. Kevin Robeson won 2 state championships in St. Louis back before the academy program got rolling, and now he's on the bench for Todd Yeagley. Todd's got one of those stars, got it back in 2012, the year before Notre Dame earned their first ever. Todd took home number 8, and then Notre Dame on the board the next year. Notre Dame actually beating Maryland in that final. A lot of controversy in that final, if you remember. Some handballs not called and the like. Here's Gutman. Well, I love that corner kick. I mean, Gutman with that left foot, they're starting to work him in on some of these set pieces.
Well, and there's a reason for that. Gutman's putting more shots on frame this year than he did last year, and it's because of his work over the summer with the Fire staff.
Thomas so close to finding Dorsey.
You know, as a member of the academy with the Chicago Fire, Gutman had a chance to spend time with the first team in Chicago this summer, and the coaching staff sat him down. He told me yesterday and said, we're going to get more of your shots on frame. You're getting the opportunities, but you're not really threatening. And he credits them with that. And he also says, I've taken a more mature look at my career. You know, junior year, he's been here and starting since he arrived on campus, and he knows that he's a leader on this team. Of course, he gives his buddy and teammate Grant Lillard a lot of the credit for the advance in the leadership, but Gutman knows that he's got to be a leader on and off the field, and he's proven it.
Gutman on it now. He's got Toy to the left. Couillard. Breaking Moore. Down in the corner, Toy. Heavy touch from Toy. Sean Diedrich, the junior from Wilton, Connecticut. Diedrich, not his best clearance, but lucky that it fell to a fellow Fighting Irish player. Here's Farina coming all the way back.
Well, with Austin Poncho in there, you get an awful lot of energy right off the bat. Poncho is not afraid to step in and pressure a little higher. That forces his teammates to follow him underneath. And put Notre Dame in a tough situation right in front of their goal. Yeah, one thing you know about these two teams when they meet, Dean, is that you get two very disciplined programs, two very well-trained groups of players who are going to compete against one another, and that's what we've seen so far tonight.
Grant Lillard on the Mac Herman Trophy watch list and just named to the senior class award list. He's got a good shot at winning it as well. Spent a lot of time in the classroom. Congratulations to our State Farm State of Success from Indiana, Grant Lillard. 17 minutes and 30-some seconds remaining for Indiana and Notre Dame here in the first half. Jerry Yeagley Field. Fans still coming in here on a beautiful night for soccer, a beautiful night for a little Indiana derby. Here's the thing, though. Notre Dame, they don't even have any Indiana players in their starting lineup as they recruit all over the country. So does Indiana, but a lot more Indiana natives on the Hoosiers. Notre Dame, no shots in 20-plus minutes, and that stat is certainly valid as it feels like the team in red has held a little more of the play, putting Notre Dame under pressure.
And that's going to be a bit of a concern to the coaching staff for Notre Dame. Bobby Clark was telling us last week that they really came out flat against Virginia Tech and in that Friday matchup down in Virginia. And it showed in the shot count. Then after they kind of got the first 15 minutes under their belts, then they were able to sort of explode. This is a guide for Coach Clark and the Fighting Irish. That shot count is consistently high game in and game out for them.
Spencer Glass has checked into the game for Indiana. So Glass, a redshirt freshman from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He's been coming on in practice, and we were told that he was going to get a run, and he gets one here in the first half. We'll see what he can do. Glass is on it now. And that's that Indiana depth that Bobby Clark told us about. Bobby Clark spent a lot of time talking about the quality of the Indiana Hoosiers, less about his team on the call. He's always pretty good about that, pretty humble man. We'll get more on Bobby Clark in a second. Right now, Indiana's going to try to make it 1-0 with Poncho working that right side. One of several subs on here for Todd Yeagley. It'll roll out of bounds. Good work by Poncho to win it right back off the throw-in. Tracking back to take it away, though, is Casey. Again, Indiana. Poncho's been dangerous. How many times did he just rip it, tuck it back in, and take it the other way? Poncho with the shot.
You see where the help comes from Notre Dame, though. It comes from the midfield. The central block of defenders stays still. And it's Poncho that's able to get that shot off through that last line of defense. Chris Hubbard being called into action yet again.
So Chris Poncho was very busy there, but when you saw that replay, Dorsey was open 8 yards to his left, and he wanted to crank one. Poncho, though, was feeling it, so he took a shot. Here's Glass, had it for a moment, lost it, fights to try to get it back. It'll be a throw-in Notre Dame. Goal kick Notre Dame as it rolls all the way out of bounds. Bobby Clark, the head coach of Notre Dame in his 17th season, 211, 87, and 53. We told you about that 2013 title. Off the head of Farina. He always seems to know where Mr. Gallagher is. Dorsey back over on the right side. Rarely have we seen Dorsey get his pocket picked this season, despite being a freshman. He did there. High pressure from the Hoosiers again. Rotating, rather bringing in a ton of players here in the first half.
Yeah, and that's a great adjustment. You bring those fresh legs in for 20 minutes and you tell them, let's go ahead and pressure high. Let's see if we can pin them in, force an error, and turn that ball over in our attacking half of the field. It also pulls the Notre Dame front line in Farina and Gallagher back, because when they see their backs getting into trouble, they've got to show a little closer, make it easier for them to clear that ball out, find a target.
Second ball won by Glass. Gutyar to Moore. Moore scored his first goal of his career this year in a dismantling of San Francisco. One bounce far side. Flag is up, though. Offside on Indiana.
Thomas Ward the target up top now as Mason Toy takes a break. Big 6-footer, former hockey player. He makes that nice run where he creates space between that defender off the back shoulder, but also drops in below the line before the service, and that becomes an easy offside call.
So War off the bench actually leads the team with 3 assists. Indiana 19 goals in the first 8 games, the most since 2005. Last year at this time, Indiana had just 11 goals. The offense is clicking, and then defensively, Indiana's allowed just those 2 goals through 8 games. That's the best since '93. 6 shutouts. Also the first time they've had 6 shutouts this early since 1993. And Notre Dame continues to not muster much offense as you see those historic numbers right there.
That's been tremendous. Quite a turn. A lot of Bloomington soccer fans over time wondering where the Will Bruin, Eric Zavaleta type player is going to come from, and you know, coaches Yeagley and Maisonov seem to have found a basket full of attacking players in the offseason.
There's Bobby Clark. Happy birthday, by the way, Bobby Clark. Understand he's 72 today. As Bobby Clark actually was the head coach of the New Zealand national team from '94 to '96, former goalkeeper at Aberdeen in Scotland, and represented the Scotland national team during 3 World Cup qualifying run. So pretty good player. Bobby Clark, sent in by Indiana. Another corner kicker for the Hoosiers. Hubbard, this is dangerous. It'll fall into the 18. Gutjahr looking for Lillard. Again, a shot from distance for Mel. And that one will fall deep for Indiana. Lots of shots, not too many challenges as Glass. He's getting an opportunity. He goes ahead and takes a shot.
These are good sequences for Indiana. Off the corner kick, collect the cleared ball, and Spencer Glass, pretty decent rip from distance.
Glass, a redshirt freshman from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Glass looking sharp, looking confident, dropping it to Gutjahr. Gutjahr switch the point of attack. This is good Indiana soccer here right now. Buckmaster finding Dorsey. Dorsey over the top, knocked out of bounds, and yet another corner kick for Indiana.
You see how disciplined that back line for Notre Dame is. Look, they're all lined up. They've got their marks, and Indiana's pushing numbers forward. So everyone's occupied with a mark. Great catch by our crew.
There's Todd Yeagley. Player of the year and Indiana. Shared it with Ryan Masonoff. Corner kick, Hoosiers. Outside the 6. That's where you want it, but knocked out of bounds. Not the best attempt there. Great corner kick, though, for Indiana. Far and away from Hubbard, who anything inside the 6, he'll pick off. Chris, 7 shots for Indiana, just 2 for Notre Dame. Just 2 of those 7 on goal, though, for the Hoosiers.
Well, Gallagher and Farina have not seen much of the ball in the last 20 minutes, Dean. You haven't called their name much, and you know, that's a credit to the Indiana defense at this point. We also talked about the fresh bodies that came off the bench. We got 3 or 4 players in for Indiana now who can extend that line of engagement, that point where pressure is put on the back line of Notre Dame in a situation like this where they're trying to maintain possession, feel out a spot on the field where they can start to penetrate.
Rare touch by Gallagher, who knocked it back, peeled off, was hoping to get it over the top. Again, Indiana had 2 red jerseys around Gallagher after that peel. Diedrich, right back, push it forward. Euland. One bounce to Muse. Euland just got back into the starting lineup. Former Kentucky Player of the Year. Notre Dame has 2 Kentucky Players of the Year. Hubbard also won it 5 years ago, and Hubbard's on it now. He scored some big goals. He had the game-winning goal against Bowling Green this year as well. Euland scored last year in the ACC tournament.
Last year he scored 2 goals here at Armstrong Stadium. It was against California in the Adidas Classic, but it was probably comforting for him to come back here knowing that he's had success on this field against, albeit a different opponent.
Euland's dad and uncle actually played at Stanford. Bobby Clark was the head coach. By the way, he was on the bench when Stanford faced Indiana in the 1998 National Championship. We'll have more on that a little later as Indiana trying to put one past Hubbard. They've done everything but that so far, as Indiana's indeed looked fluid. Here's Gallagher with the armband on. Moore is always there to clean it up. Dorsey. Dorsey was going to be able to hang on to that one. We were really going to have some special sauce for that freshman. Here's Gutman.
He does, with every touch, he has so much more confidence in his dribbling. The one thing that I think probably you'd want to see more from him is utilizing his teammates. He doesn't have to do it all himself. Players come from their former club environment, their former high school environment. They were the stars of the show, and they did a lot of it themselves. They don't have to do that at this level.
Glass. Into space, Gutman. Gutman. Back to Glass again. Knocked out of bounds. It'll be the 5th corner for Indiana. None for Notre Dame.
Well, Gutman comes in flying, and he's got a chance to continue with those touches. Instead, he lays it off to Glass, and Dietrich keeps it from hitting the mixer, but dangerous now for Indiana late in this first half.
Seeing 5 corners for Indiana. Pancho this time. It was Swartz earlier. Pancho came on for Swartz and handles the same duties for the corner kicks. Gutyard. Switch back again, trying to find Pancho. Great touch by Pancho. Back across, nobody making that near post run, though, for Indiana. Far post run was covered. That was a brilliant touch by Pancho, receiving that long pass. Mel. Dorsey everywhere. Dorsey with his left foot, he mishit that one.
Coaches talk about your first touch all the time when you're a player, and if you don't understand what the coach is saying, watch this. Gutman puts this ball right out to Pancho, who puts it in the path in which he's running. Remember, the first touch has got to be in the direction that you want to go, and Pancho illustrates it perfectly in that sequence.
He was able to deaden the ball just enough, too, where it didn't get away from him. Number 12, speaking of Stanford, he's got a brother playing at Stanford. Farina. Towns. Picked back up by Gutman. Boy, Gutman had the right idea. Gallagher held up his run. He was going to be offside. A little over 3 minutes remaining. It's still zeros. You know we're going to look at the stats at halftime. And it's going to be heavy in favor of Indiana, but still 0-0.
Yeah, heavy in favor of Indiana, not just in shots, Dean, but I think also if you were to take a look at possession time, there's going to be an awful lot in favor for Indiana. Now, you don't win a game in possession. That's a stat that coaches go to, but it is not the stat line that counts. And so it'll be important to see what happens in the second half.
Miscommunication on the run. The Hoosiers near post. Trying to sneak it by there was Thomas Ward, the freshman from Zionsville, Indiana.
Boy, this ball just kind of haphazardly leaks through the midfield, doesn't it? And Thomas Ward is aware and goes right to goal. Why not? He gets in and behind and gets that shot off, but Hubbard does well as the experienced goalkeeper to keep that post covered and to keep it out of danger.
Seaton Fairley, number 17, last line of defense here. Another corner kick for Indiana. They're 6th. 6 corners. The percentages start to favor Indiana to put one in here. Lillard looking for his first goal of the season, as he's got 12 career goals. Back across again, looking for Lillard. Moore was also there. Knocked out of bounds, and it'll be corner kick number 7, all in the first half, as Gutman letting it fire.
Remember, we talked about how he wants to keep this ball on frame. Boy, just a deflection would be a great benefit on that shot that looks like it's going a little wide, but a lot of people in there to redirect it if they can get to it.
Dumahu headed away. Pancho, another corner kick. And again, nothing doing, though. 7 corners for Indiana. Pancho flying them in there, but at this point, 9 shots on goal for Indiana. 9 shots, just 3 of those on goal for Indiana. Big crowd here tonight. Big crowd last Friday at Michigan State. Record crowd. Michigan State and Maryland. Now 3 and 4. That one went zeros. We'll have more news news and notes around the Big Ten at halftime. The Ohio State Buckeyes looking for 7 shutouts in a row tonight against Detroit Mercy.
Well, John Bloom's got some magic. He's working there in Columbus, doesn't he?
Good turnaround here for John Bloom. Farina has stayed in the game. 30 seconds remaining. Notre Dame.
Just in that sequence there, Dean, you can see how things have kind of become discombobulated for Notre Dame. Farina looks over his shoulder and above his head, and he doesn't understand where that ball is headed.
Final seconds. 2 top 10 teams. Indiana, the #1 team in the country. Notre Dame, number 7. Indiana with double-digit shots, 3 of them on goal, but the halftime score in this Indiana Derby, 0s.
Well, Notre Dame came out and they did well to, I think, correct what doomed them on Friday night against Virginia Tech, and that was a slow start. So they come out with their foot on the accelerator, and they do pretty well in the early going, but Indiana wrestled the game back, and it didn't take much. And the Hoosiers really showed the majority of the half how strong they are.
Pleased to be joined by the 8-year top man of the Indiana Hoosiers, Todd Yeagley. Todd, great to be with you. An impressive first half, 10 shots, 3 of them on goal. The possession very much in favor of your team. Your thoughts, Coach, so far?
Well, I thought we started a little slow. The first 10, I thought they, had a little bit of territory, and I thought we were a little bit deep with our midfield shape. And I thought as the half continued, we were able to get a little higher. Our pressure was better. And when we were able to get in the attack, I still think we got to be sharper with our final pass. I mean, there's spaces to play between their lines. We just have to be patient and find opportunities to create our wide overloads or 1v1 situations. And also we can find spaces in between their tight lines of 4 and 4.
Todd, you're talking about this week about how do you get around or you get behind that last line of defense for Notre Dame. Which players do you think will do that for you in the second half, and how will they be able to accomplish it?
Well, I thought we could have spun them around a little bit earlier with Mason looking to stretch, and with one penetrating run, the whole back line for Notre Dame will drop. Made a lot of good chances. I liked the way that we fought and clawed. It wasn't, again, the cleanest performance from us, but I'm confident going into half we can make a few adjustments and be even cleaner in the second half.
Coach, you have the #1 team in the country waiting for you in the locker room. We'll let you join them. Thanks for being with us, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Todd Yeagley on a beautiful night in Bloomington, Indiana. #1 Indiana and #7 Notre Dame. Hoosiers look dominant, but nobody able to score through 45. Here at halftime, #1 Indiana, #7 Notre Dame. And tonight we've got an all-new Campus Eats. Troy Johnson and Jenny Dell visit campus institutions this week. And you can catch a brand new Campus Eats tonight at 10 Eastern right here on BTN. Some great shots of the Village Deli here in Bloomington. Great spot right downtown on Kirkwood Avenue. My main man, Chris Doran, has frequented. He has not had the fantastic cinnamon roll pancake yet, but certainly a great place to visit. Pleased to be joined on his birthday. Happy birthday, Bobby Clark, the head coach of Notre Dame. So great to be with you. You are truly ageless, Coach Clark, although maybe that first half will age you. Indiana looked pretty good. What are your thoughts on that first half?
It's not been a happy birthday so far, so hopefully we can turn things around. We started the game okay, but I don't know. I think we get. They were winning more. The second game of second balls, and they were doing a better job than we were doing in it. So hopefully we can turn that around the second half. So we're quite happy to come in at 0-0. So let's see if we can take it. We've been in this situation before, so hopefully we can turn this around. But they're a good team, and we're playing at their place. And now, but if we're going to win the game, we've got to do a little bit more.
Bobby, happy birthday! Thanks for being with us. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure also. Thank you.
All right, Bobby Clark, the head coach.
He's just a classic.
He really is. He's so fantastic. He's see the offensive showdown. Hopefully we will see some scoring here in the second half.
Well, there are plenty of shots for sure, but you talk about these two teams and how accustomed they are to scoring. They generally produce goals per game beyond 2.
So Toy is back in there to start. So is Schwartz. Take a shot from distance. Hubbard can't run it down. Was he able to knock it out of bounds? It was before Indiana was able to get their 8th corner. 20 seconds in. It'll be a throw-in instead. Thomas. Boy, he showed some special moves in that first half, Thomas, including a nifty back heel on a corner. Notre Dame's got decent numbers right here going the other way. Look at Indiana, though, get the red jerseys behind. It's now 5 versus 3 in favor of Indiana.
Frankie Moore doing a great job in the first half, and now here to start the second, keeping track of Gallagher up top.
Alongside Chris Dorn, I'm Dean Linke, delighted to be with you here for this special Indiana derby, Notre Dame and Indiana. As Chris Dorn told you, Bobby Clark, when he arrived in Notre Dame, wanted to get this in-state rivalry back on the schedule. Notre Dame, a diagonal ball. Frankie Moore always in the right place. They've had some pretty good holding mids in the right place over the years in Bloomington, Chris.
Well, they have. You know, a lot of young fans only know Caleb Porter as the head coach of Akron and the head coach of the Portland Timbers, but Caleb Porter was one of those guys in the holding midfielder role who was just a guy who could kill plays by the opponent. Look back at John Stolmeyer, a World Cup player who played in that role too. It's an important part of the puzzle that Indiana puts together each and every season, and the player that falls into that role is the player who has a certain quality to it, and Frankie Moore has certainly got the qualities.
Moore's pass to Dorsey just a little bit too long. Now Farina, nifty back heel, and too strong in a roll out of bounds. It'll be a goal kick back for Indiana.
Pretty good build-up from Notre Dame. They're coming out starting the second half, and how about the left ball by Farina to set that opportunity up. Bobby Clark, I've decided, is just a gentle soul who doesn't really like to get into specifics too much. Because, you know, it's like he's the soccer almanac, and if you feel like every time he opens his mouth, there's just everything's just going to come gushing out. But he is such a gentle soul when he talks about other people, and he talks about other programs and how talented other players are and that sort of thing. And he's gentle when he talks about his own players too, isn't he?
Indeed.
He really is.
He really is. Doesn't have a bad word to say about anybody, I don't believe.
And you used the word humble earlier, and I think that's an appropriate descriptor. Mason Toye offside in that situation.
Gallagher. Couple early chances within the first 10 minutes, and then not much more from number 10. Off the head of Mel. There's Gallagher trying to get position in the 18. Support coming back from Gutjahr. Here comes Thomas. Thomas over to Dorsey. Why not find him? Here he goes. Dorsey. He can gobble up real estate as good as anybody in the country. And as I say that, that last touch, the final 10, will come back to Hubbard.
This is a good opportunity as John Gallagher is looking to the outside to lay that ball off, and the cross ball for the target, Farina, is cleared away.
Coming the other way, hard tackle from Mel and cleared out of there by Buckmaster. Safety first for the Indiana Hoosiers, as this game's starting to open up a lot more here in the first 5 than it did the entire first 45. First 5 of the second half. Diagonal ball knocked by Thomas, and Muse, did he get there? No. Finally, Notre Dame will have a corner kick.
But Towns lays in a very, very nice ball, and Duma is on the run, but can't make anything out of it. The assistant referee signaling that before Trey Muse got to it, the ball's out.
So Jack Casey, 4 assists already on the season, serves a great corner kick. Deflected out. It'll be a throw-in for Notre Dame. Jack Casey There's a couple players part of that great PDA program, which is so good on the women's game as well. Casey, one of them. He had 1 goal and 3 assists last year in his freshman campaign. His first goal was scored against Syracuse, where he also had the game-winning assist. At the time, Syracuse was number 2 in the country and undefeated. Throw in, looking for Farina. Cleared out of there by Lillard. Duma. Not a good pass from Duma, taken away. Push it forward to Swartz. Good work by Buckmaster to find Swartz. Then it's Thomas back to Mel. They'll use Lillard.
We talk about the discipline of Notre Dame. You see the lines defending out of that traditional 4-4-2. The midfield line is just so disciplined, and that back line working together as one unit.
Boy, what a great touch here by Dorsey on the left side. He's been left side, right side, spinning players as Diedrich almost got spun to the ground. Dorsey with a great touch, and then gets inside the 18.
And getting around the corners is part of the goal tonight for Indiana. And Dorsey practically gets around that final defender as he spins him on the move. It was exactly how Todd Yeagley drew it up yesterday after training when talking to me about how they need to beat Notre Dame. And it's on those corners with those moves that Dorsey's got that can help them be successful.
A little corkscrew action there. Dorsey on Diedrich, Sean Diedrich, the junior from Wilton, Connecticut. His brother Kyle may get on. He has been starting at that right midfield position, now manned by Hewlin. Okay, Chris, a little kind of more rapid pace here in the first 7 minutes, end to end, both teams.
And Indiana now with possession is going to take their time. You see how this field has become squeezed. It's real tight defensively. The shape for both teams very good. Not a lot of movement right now from Indiana, but they're content to hold the ball and kind of sort out where they want to go with it. Where they can maybe stretch a defender, or they can find a matchup where their numbers up or even numbers even. 2v2, 3v2 situation where they can work their way into a dangerous portion of the attacking third.
Thomas trapping that with the bottom of his shoe. From top to toy. So both teams just trying to find the answer offensively. Indiana, those 7 corners, but not been quality in front of the goal so far. Here's Gutjahr. He'll switch it over to Dorsey. Diedrich. And to give Dorsey some space as Gutman, he will fire from anywhere. As Chris Doran told you, he worked a lot on his accuracy. He's got 3 goals this year, 5 in his career.
This is good work. You're expecting Dorsey to go ahead and try to make that run on the dribble again. Instead, he lays it back for his teammate behind him. Gutman sneaks in, gets a good look at goal, little underneath. Probably wants to be over that ball a bit more, but he has been much more dangerous putting that ball on frame this season.
Notre Dame comes in 68, 65, and 23 all time against Big Ten teams. They play a lot of Big Ten teams. They play Michigan State later in the year. Farina to Gallagher. How many times have you heard that in the last 4 years? Farina to Gallagher. Gallagher back to Farina. Farina almost snuck one in near post.
They really do understand one another's abilities, don't they? Notre Dame with dates against Michigan or against Big Ten opponents, and you know it's an easy trip for these teams. It's an economical trip for sure, but it's also great for the RPI when these teams are all successful and they're sharing competitive dates, and you're lucky enough to earn a win against a top program. it helps you in your RPI significantly.
Good move here by Notre Dame, who had their first shot in 45+ minutes moments ago. That's how stingy Indiana's defense has been. Both sides of the ball working for the #1 team in the country, the Indiana Hoosiers. Abrowski, one of the captains for Bobby Clark. Blake Towns has pretty much started in the midfield since arriving in South Bend. Here's Gallagher. Gallagher, another one of the captains. Thomas, as you can hear Todd Yeagley saying, that's good, Corey, doing work on both sides of the field. That's why he's in the starting lineup now.
Gallagher out of midfield on the dribble. He's waiting for his teammates to set themselves up. He sees Duma making that run and lays a well-timed pass inside, and Corey Thomas does really well not to panic in that situation and keep it shielded, so the goal kick is earned.
Gallagher, 32 career goals, 13 career assists as he climbs the scoring ranks at Notre Dame. Excellent ball there by Casey to find Farina, who's switching. Diedrich now going to make a run. Boy, massive brace on that left leg and all, and Farina still quality. He's clearly not 100%. You can tell in the way he runs, but even a less than 100% Farina is a player Bobby Clark has got to have out there.
He's exceptional, and it was sort of odd to hear that Coach Clark wanted him to do away with the brace. It sounds like there's a certain amount of comfort that Farina has just having it on, and you know, when he's ready, he'll be ready to take it off.
10 goals, 17 assists in his career. His 4 goals this season are a career high, as early on it was Farina doing all of the goal scoring in those first 3 games when Gallagher was shut out, but Gallagher's come to life with 6 goals in his last 4. Part of the reason why Gallagher is on that Mac Herman watch list along with Indiana's Lillard. Here's Farina. You know, he was trying to find Gallagher right there, looking around for him. Diagonal pass knocked away, ironically, by Lillard. Gutman will snap it. Farina again. Duma. Muse.
I'm sure Coach Clark is pleased with the way his Irish team has come out of the locker room. They've done a really great job of being patient in their possession and finding a few chances. Both teams staying organized. And Dean, you made the point during the halftime break. Talk about 2 programs that not only respect one another but respect the game and the way they play. We have just a handful of fouls to talk about, and they're not even worth talking about.
Yeah, just 5 fouls each. Thomas trying to run it down, and the ball bounced up on him, so he really couldn't get his body around. A good ball over the top, though, to find Thomas putting himself in a good position.
Yeah, this is a really terrific ball, and Dabrowski's got to track back, and Thomas, I think, has the better of this positioning, but not able to get that ball on frame.
Yeah, just an unlucky bounce just as he was looking to take that shot. Went up on him. And here we go now as we're really excited to see Rashad Hyacinth before that Friday night tilt at Ludwig Field as he was coming off a big-time performance, but it was kind of slick in Maryland. It's got to be the right situation for Rashad Hyacinth, and he's in there now, Chris.
Rashad is a transfer, 2nd year here at Indiana. And the original foul is going to be whistled. And he offers yet another dimension for Todd Yeagley. Here's the foul. And advantage, it appeared, was going to be allowed, but then the poor follow-up touch.
So Gallagher, who scored those 2 brilliant free kicks we showed you to start the show against Boston College when he had the hat trick, a little bit too far out. So Duma gonna curl one around. Problem is you got Grant Lillard in there. Too many balls in the air that Lillard doesn't win, and Mel's been pretty good as well. Look at Thomas and Dorsey. They're just rotating all over the field right now. Hyacinth, that's exactly what he does, and Chris Dorn just told you he would do it. Plenty of time left here, 29-28. Notre Dame has played just one overtime game, their second game of the season when they beat Cal Poly 2-1. Indiana has played 3. They win 0s against Maryland, 1-1 against Michigan. They beat San Diego in overtime, also the second game of the season. So 2 ties and a win in overtime. Long ways from overtime. You seem to like overtime here on the Big Ten Network, Chris, as Hyacinth can't run it down.
Hyacinth is really interesting. He trains himself on days when the team doesn't train at all. So on his days off, he's still working because he always wants to get better. And I happened to be out at the field one day and crossed his path, and I asked him about his boots because he's wearing the old Copa Mundials. Now, you know, they're always new. I mean, they're always in style. But for guys our age, they're in style. He's got a choice of any kind of colored boot he wants to wear. I said, Rashad, what are you doing? You could be wearing any colored cleat you want. Any one of the new models you want. Why are you wearing these old shoes or the old style shoes? And he said, it's the only ones I'm comfortable in. He's tried several different brands, but when he came to Indiana, he said he was going to wear the boot that he's always worn. And it's the Copas. And it's so funny because you see so many players in so many bright colored cleats.
3 stripes of the Copas for Hyacinth. Todd Yeagley would like to find those 3 stripes. There's the old classic look. That is old school, Chris.
He's got the number 9 on there because he came to Indiana, and the expectation is that you're gonna be our target man up top. And he's happy to share the field with guys like Mason Toy and Thomas War, but he wants his chance too.
Great ball in, Gallagher. One step too shy for Gallagher. How about that? Notre Dame winning it. Quick pounce over the top, and they almost found Farina to Gallagher one more time.
Yeah, look how Gallagher gets in between the 2 defenders, and Tim Mel maybe has lost track of him. Buckmaster is there, and that ball's going away. Otherwise, Gallagher is going to make a meal of it.
Silent tonight for the most part, Farina and Gallagher, but all they need is one chance, one opportunity. In Notre Dame's case, one golden opportunity. They can make you pay. That would be a heartbreaker for Indiana, dominating the stat line. 12 shots to Notre Dame's 3, 7 corners to just 1 for Notre Dame.
As we mentioned earlier, 10 of the 14 goals scored by Notre Dame this year come from those 2. So, you know that they're going to create those chances for one another, and the teammates are going to find them. Indiana did very well to silence that strike tandem in the first half. And in the second half, I think Notre Dame's enjoyed a little bit more of the possession, and maybe some of those chances are getting a little closer for Notre Dame.
So Spencer Glass, the redshirt freshman from Fort Wayne, is going to come on for Dorsey. And we've talked about Dorsey's special qualities, as you see the shots on goal. But by Dorsey standards, not the best we've seen of Mr. Dorsey, with a couple of those late touches.
Well, one of the things we see in the disciplined approach from Notre Dame is that midfield line allows for true outside midfielders to keep their marks, and those outside midfielders have done a nice job of sort of neutralizing the flanks. In fact, more times than not, when we saw Griffin Dorsey on the left side in front of Andrew Gutman, we saw more of Gutman overlapping and getting free in that space than Dorsey attacking from the left.
So we'll see what Glass can bring. Pancho also very effective at the end of that first half. Hyacinth. As Hyacinth with that left foot kept alive, trying to find Thomas. It's a case right now, you've got so much depth. In fact, Bobby Clark feared this depth as far as the keys to the game of Indiana. And Todd Yeagley, Brian Mazonoff, Roby, Kevin Robeson trying to mix and match and see what works right now.
I think Kevin Robeson wishes he was still part of that depth for Indiana. Wants a player on the bench, and now coach.
Gutman tucked inside from that left back position. He's still in the 18. That means numbers could be there for Notre Dame. Farina has it. Farina's going to turn. Gallagher is right down the middle. Looking for Gallagher, and Lillard had it read perfectly. You mentioned Kevin Robeson, his 4th season. He's one of those blue chippers out of St. Louis. 2 state titles, then 2 national titles as a reserve player. But he's got a contagious personality, a winning personality. That's why Todd Yeagley wanted to make sure he was part of his staff. All the way across. Hyacinth, and it's in! Hyacinth, I'm going to take away the attention. Pancho with the finish, and Indiana leads at 1-0.
Getting around the corner was the big part of the game plan going into tonight, and that's exactly what Indiana does. They get around the corner on the far side, 2 targets inside, Pancho and Hyacinth with the ball to get to. Pancho with the finishing touch for his 2nd goal of 2017.
And how about Pancho? We were talking about Kevin Robeson from St. Louis, the amazing connection to St. Louis for 30+ years, that pipeline directly to Bloomington. Pancho from St. Louis, Missouri, Lafayette High School, 2nd goal this season. The academic all Big Tenor getting one by Hubbard, and it's 1-0. Well, Trevor Swartz has come on for more. Seriously, Chris, you had a first-hand seat of that St. Louis to Bloomington pipeline over the years.
Well, yeah, it was always sort of a joke, but when you look back, St. Louis was the program of record, and then Jerry Yeagley started to build the Indiana program, and then Jerry Yeagley would start to go into the Missouri area and recruit, and some of those St. Louis kids would pass on their home school and travel the 4.5 hours to get to Bloomington and play for the Cream and Crimson. Now we're talking about players like Will Bruin, Kevin Robeson, as you've mentioned. And the rivalry between the two. It's amazing how many Indiana alums show up when Indiana plays at St. Louis to support the Hoosiers.
So Indiana able to break through, give Hyacinth a ton of credit as well, able to take a couple white jerseys with them. As Kyle Diedrich has checked in. We thought he was playing. He's in for Ulen. Duma can't find Kyle Diedrich. How about Sean Diedrich and Kyle Diedrich? The 2 brothers started this program. As you first take a look
more
at the goal.
Yeah, more out to Glass, and then Glass with that whipped in ball, and you can see how much pressure the central defense was on as they're dropping with both Pancho and Hyacinth. And I'm a little surprised Hubbard didn't get a hand on that ball. It had to have whipped past him quicker than he had anticipated.
Farina. Second ball, though, won by Swartz, who's going to sit in now where Frankie Moore is. You're starting to see Todd Yeagley and his coaching staff. There's that hard foul there. Let's see if Peter Demon thought maybe he would give a card there, as Kupiar went in pretty hard on Kyle Diedrich. How about Kyle and Sean Diedrich, though? They actually started a program called Top Soccer. It's a program for kids with special needs in Wilton, Connecticut, that the two founded, and they go back over the summer. Got great activity helping those kids in Wilton. Special kids, the Diedrichs. Notre Dame. Here is Sean Diedrich. Off the head of Indiana. It'll be a corner kick as that went off of Gutman.
A little surprising there. Jack Casey gets that ball, and I thought perhaps he might have a look at goal. Diedrich makes the run. And the corner kick earned for Notre Dame.
Felician Dumas, the junior. Dumas, part of that Singapore program where John Gallagher also was part of the International Soccer Academy in Singapore. As Bobby Clark talked about the fact that he's more from Singapore, the U.S., than he is from Ireland, is Gallagher. Here's Dumas with that corner kick. Snapped out of there by Mel. Fall to Blake Towns, but not on frame.
Towns has got a really confident shot from distance and probably wanted to settle that first.
Thursday, we've got a women's soccer doubleheader from the state of Indiana. We kick it off at 6 Eastern with Purdue hosting Illinois. Then Northwestern travels to Bloomington to take on the Hoosiers right here on BTN and on the BTN to Go app. Women's soccer on Thursday on the Big Ten Network here in Bloomington, where the Indiana Hoosiers women's team will be on Thursday. It's the #1 team in the country. Indiana leading Notre Dame by a score of 1-0 alongside Indiana Soccer Hall of Famer Chris Dorn. I'm Dean Linke, and the crowd has stayed here in Bloomington, far side with the Hoosier Armor and the students. Hoosier Army is pretty packed, and then near side, as we saw, look at that. I mean, try to squeeze in there on a beautiful night for soccer in Bloomington.
Probably be one of the last warm nights or summer-like warm nights for a while, as the cold front's expected to move through the Midwest here in the next couple of days. So shorts and T-shirts tonight at Armstrong Stadium and little Hoosier soccer. And there are so many people with Notre Dame ties who live in Bloomington too. And naturally Notre Dame travels well. So this game is a fantastic part of the soccer culture, whether it's being played in South Bend or being played here in Bloomington.
Long ball for Notre Dame. Problem is there's no white jersey. Lillard, he doesn't just head it. He finds a player as he finds Glass, who has the assist in this game so far. Swartz, and now Glass again. Glass deflected. And I gotta admit, is I'll get teased, but it was the Godfather, Jerry Yeagley, that told me that you expect to see Glass. He's been that good in practice. Todd didn't exactly bring up Glass, perhaps a secret weapon, but the Godfather let it slip that we're going to see Glass, and he's been outstanding.
Yeah, he has. He's been very, very mobile, and he's got great movement with the ball and without. And he's serving a great ball, too. Get a little more outside service for Indiana through Spencer Glass.
Hoosiers trying to draw the foul. Gutman spun to the ground. Referee wasn't buying it. Lillard, good communication there to the freshman. And that connection there from the senior to the freshman has been pretty effective to start. Foul. Good job by Buckmaster to shield as Muse was under some pressure there. Pancho, the goal scorer. It's 1-0 Indiana. Frankie Moore, by the way, just a short little breather. He's back on, so he'll sit, and I'll move Swartz back up. And Chris Doran, this depth that Bobby Clark was talking about for Indiana, he was spot on.
Yeah, they don't miss anything when they put players on and pull players off. They don't miss a beat. because the system is what you learn when you come to Indiana. It's the same thing for Notre Dame. The system is what you learn, and then you develop and mature through that structure. And that's why every year, when you ask an opposing coach, you know, what are you looking forward to when you play Notre Dame? Well, we're looking forward to that block of defenders in the back that we can't get through. And when you talk about Indiana, you ask opposing coaches, what do you think you have to do? And they say, well, you know, we're going to have to deal with their talent. They're going to have to deal with their height and their restarts. It's usually the same thing, and it's I think it's a real credit to both coaches. And we hear it with Damon Renzi, we hear it with Tim Monahan, and the other conference coaches too. The qualities of their programs become notable, and they remain intact year after year. Players learn the qualities of the program, and they execute.
Year after year, Indiana is in the NCAA tournament. Can you believe 30 straight, 41 total for Indiana? The 8 national championships, 18 college cups, 30 years in a row. Indiana has been in the NCAA tournament.
It's astounding, to be honest with you, and so respectable too. And they've earned a number of stars as a result.
Notre Dame got to start to push it here a little bit. Down 1-0. Not had a ton of shots. Farina always thinking pass first. Not the fastest front runner, but putting some decent pressure there on Fairley. Keep in mind it's Fairley in for Patrick Berneski, the senior who was red carded late in that loss to Virginia Tech. That loss took away a little bit of the shine on what we thought was going to be 1 versus 2, but Indiana moved up to number 1. Notre Dame dropping down to 7. Still a top 10 matchup here on the Big Ten Network.
As Notre Dame searches for a chance here, keep in mind Indiana only allowing 2 goals all season. So rest assured, Notre Dame is not the only frustrated team the Indiana soccer team has played this year. The Indiana goal in the 67th minute, that ball in by Spencer Glasson. Wow! With that replay, I am really surprised that Hubbard doesn't get it. It's coming in at a decent pace, but he's got himself in a position, and he may have been anticipating that his back was going to clear it. But there needs to be some communication. That offers a very different perspective on whether or not Hubbard should have snatched that one up.
Good ball by Glass as well, though. He actually tallied his first collegiate point, getting an assist in that 5-0 win over Rutgers, and keeps it going now with another assist. Talk about St. Louis. How about that Carmel United program in Indiana over the years, men and women, has also been a pretty solid pipeline to Bloomington.
No kidding. It's been a solid pipeline to the Big Ten Conference. When you look at how many female players have come out of that program. Riley Martin up at Michigan, her sister. And then when the Indiana Fire Academy put their roots in Westfield, which we'll see Westfield in the soccer complex at the end of the season for the Big Ten tournament. Phil Presser up there starts to really make developing talent look easy when you see the number of quality players that have come out of that entire community.
Shad Hyacinth made that near post run. As you said, that may have been enough. It may have been Hyacinth that drew Hubbard away. Farina, Sean Diedrich, too long, and Indiana's going to take their time. Pretty good job by Goopman. He was trying to look away from the little ball person on the far side. here to do their job, though. Throw in for Indiana. Farina with some high pressure. That could work out here for Notre Dame. Here's a shot, and indeed it did. That pressure from Farina led to that opportunity, but Notre Dame just not shooting on frame tonight.
Well, just after we got started with the second half, Indiana was able to find some opportunities getting around the corner. This cross ball to Hyacinth and Pancho, and Pancho is there, and Pancho does a great job finishing a ball that looks like it should have been scooped up by Hubbard, the goalkeeper. Can he get to it? It just seems like something didn't work right there, whether it was a bad skip or the ball was at a pace that he didn't anticipate. A couple of really great looks from our crew, and it's going to remain a mystery. I suppose Hubbard, in a quiet moment, may actually turn to coach and say, you know, yeah, I could have gotten it, or, you know, I thought it was going to be cleared, or I didn't call for it. But from a veteran goalkeeper like that, you wonder what that story is. He doesn't make those types of mistakes if in fact it was a mistake.
No, he's one of the best goalkeepers in the country, and a goalkeeper at his level, he'll take out a white jersey normally just to make sure he got it. But a little bit of alligator arms pulled back, and it's 1-0 Indiana. Keep in mind, though, Notre Dame has scored 3 goals in the final 10 minutes this season. 2 of those goals were by Farina. So here we are with 10 minutes remaining. They have shown the ability to score late. Notre Dame has. Yeah, the captain, Hubbard, you're right, that was a good look. That is crazy, because normally it doesn't matter who's coming down at you. You're getting your arm out there or sticking your leg out, anything. Send it the other way. Notre Dame will earn a corner kick. Just the third corner for Notre Dame. All 7 corners for Indiana coming in the first half.
Just be aware of the top of the box. An extra one's coming.
You can hear Todd Yeagley saying, top of the box, be ready. Instead, Duma sends it in. Really no elevation on that corner, and cleared out. We've had 10 corner kicks, Chris, both teams, and not too many good opportunities have come out of the corner kicks.
No, other than the one that appeared to be a bit of a short play for Indiana, I think they've all kind of gone the same way.
Yeah, that was a nifty move with Thomas on the back heel. Dancing with it. Off the bench there's Kyle Dietrich showing some quality, the senior. As Dietrich come on for Euland. Here's his brother Sean Dietrich.
We talked earlier in the season, Dean, about how Coach Yeagley thinks that Indiana has done a better job of being patient, defending, and allowing possession to be allowing the opposing team to possess the ball, and just to keep your shape defensively and not allow them to take up much real estate. And I think we're going to see a lot of that here in the final 7.5 minutes.
Indiana,
Corey, go ahead.
Willing to meet Notre Dame at midfield at the moment, protecting that 1-0 lead. Looking to push their record to 7-0-2 on the season. Pancho had it for a moment. One back by Sean Dietrich. Look at Pancho, read it perfectly. Second ball off of Pancho. Good effort there by Sean McLeod, the junior from Scotland. Like his coach, Bobby Clark. Kyle Dietrich, Buckmaster. Oh my, and it got between the legs. That's going to be a goal. Somehow it snuck through, didn't go out of bounds. Now wait, they may say it went out of bounds. It went over the line. Somehow it looked like they kept it alive and went over the line and then between the legs. But here we go. Let's take a look at it.
Watch the assistant referee on the far side. He'll watch for this at the goal line. And, boy, Dietrich does a really nice job of continuing to sell it. The through ball is knocked in, and it appears to be an own goal. But Dietrich gets to that ball on his final touch as it's out of bounds.
So the assistant referee was all over it. Ball clearly passing over the line, and don't count it as Timmy Mel came sliding in, and it just pinged off, I think, one knee and then the other leg of Muse and in the net, but it won't count. So Indiana hanging on to that 1-0 lead.
And in that situation for Notre Dame, they decided to go ahead and isolate
Kyle Dietrich. Thomas in support of Buckmasters. The midfielders have given that back line of Indiana all kinds of support when they needed it.
Kyle Dietrich isolated 1v1 against Reese Buckmaster and does well to get to the goal line and make things start to happen for Notre Dame.
Sean Dietrich now. And Farina.
Dietrich getting to the ball, and obviously tough from this angle for us to call it, but the assistant referee on the far side, comfortable enough with his view of what had transpired, says the entire ball was over the 4-inch line.
I think it was as well. When you think about his left leg having to come back across the goal and where he hit it, it looks like we can speculate with a lot of confidence that it was over the line. So 4 minutes and change left here in the game. Indiana trying to avoid the curse of being #1 that struck down Notre Dame in their last game against Virginia Tech. Went in #1, went out a 2-1 loser to the Hokies. Ironically, it was the Hokies who knocked off Indiana in the NCAA tournament. I mean, Lillard.
Daniel Acuna is still dangerous, by the way, if you didn't see that game. he was rough on Indiana last year.
All right, 3 minutes and change. It's a little bit casual there from Timmy Mel, knocked out of bounds.
Yeah, now you're playing against a team that is desperate for any chance, and so Indiana's got to be cautious. Packing it in and playing compactly are two different things, and Indiana's not packing it in. They're staying compact defensively in an effort to deny anything in the way of buildup for Notre Dame. They've done well in the run of play to keep Farina and Gallagher at bay. But in situations like this, stars can come out of nowhere, and so the Hoosiers have just got to be cautious and remain compact defensively, but they've got to continue to play.
So Indiana would like to keep possession. Head down near the corner flag. And that is exactly what your coach wants right there. Pancho, the goal scorer, off the bench. Able to knock it in as Hubbard, a poor clearance. I think he would even admit the fifth-year senior is working on his master's. Just didn't go get it, Chris. Indiana made him pay. So Indiana trying to manage the clock, didn't want to serve one in and let Hubbard start the attack. See all the members of the Notre Dame team up and on their feet, seeing what Notre Dame can do here in these final 90 seconds. Gallagher Looking to switch it far side. Pancho, man of the match. Able to head it away. One bounce, a tricky one there for Muse. That'll make your heart beat just a little bit. But, boy, Muse, he just doesn't get rattled, though. I mean, for a freshman, it's pretty amazing.
He's really, really good. We've talked about this before. He's former Kentucky Player of the Year. His dad's a former goalkeeper, played for Kentucky. And he grew up with the position deal. And in so doing has certainly become very comfortable and seen a lot of different situations, certainly as a member of the U18s, and his training with the academy in Seattle has been very good.
How about Ward with that touch? Thomas Ward had it and then lost it. So 30-some seconds here now for Bobby Clark in Notre Dame. Seconds counting down, and best offensive attack for Indiana in a long, long time, and defensively equally as strong as they look for another shutout. And that combination of that back line with these midfielders and the depth working out for the #1 team in the country. They'll stay #1 with a 1-0 win over Notre Dame.
7 shutouts says an awful lot about the defense, and they found a way to break through a very strong team in Notre Dame and get the goal they needed to get out of this evening's match with the victory. Indiana showed a very mature level of patience in this second half.